Hey guys, it's Cynthia again, Healing Holden, and I am hyperventilating. So I'm reaching out to you so I can stop. Doing this helps me. This is like a therapy session. So thank you for listening. Okay, so we did the mycotoxin test and I read you the results of that. I didn't have it printed out at the time, but I do now because this is a too old computer and I'd have to do a Teams meeting to share on the screen, but this is what the test looks like. Mycotoxin panel for Holden, and these are his results. Oh my gosh, this desk is too small. There we go. These are the results if you want to take a stab at looking at it. There you go. Sorry. Okay. So I already kind of read that to you last time. Well, let me tell you what Dr. Osborne said when we went to the appointment. He said that Holden has over 3 times the limit of 3 of the different mold toxins. Some I thought it wasn't coming from black mold because it didn't. I didn't read anything about Stachybotrys when I was looking at that, and that's black mold. But it turns out the trichothis. Oh my god, trichothecene, trichothecene group that I couldn't pronounce last time, and I'm really embarrassed of not pronouncing this time. That is, or maybe it's the satrotoxin. Anyway, the ones that I didn't think were the ones that I couldn't pronounce very well. Those were the ones. One of those, or possibly more than one, is coming from black mold. So obviously, that's a very dangerous mold. And then he had so 3 different mold toxin. He had over 3 times the limit, and then one, the gliotoxin, he had, which causes brain problems like Tourette's and nervous system problems and immune system problems. He had 4.5 times the limit. So what we were told by Dr. Osborne is this will cause a long-term impact on learning and growing. And so the sooner you get out of there, the better. Multi-tox, basically our marching orders were, we need to get him out of that house that he's in with his dad. I just moved again. Welcome to Holden's room. We're still putting things up over there. Anyway, so in this place, again, it's another new place, much like the last one I moved into after the moldy house. And this one, it smells fresh. It's very new. It's like 2015 is when it was built, so 7 years old, but it's very well taken care of. And it's there's no visible mold. I don't smell mold. But I had to do another ERMI test because in the conversation with my ex, he asked the doctor, is it possible this is from exposure a long time ago? And he's like, no, this is exposure that he's having now. This is coming because it's a urine test because you pee in it, cup, and then you send it off. It's really easy, actually. And then I was going to show you, because I'm here, one of the things that I needed to do was take another ERMI test for this place. So because Dr. Osborne said, you need to move and I'll provide you a letter to get out of your lease to my ex-husband and even to me, for some reason, there's something wrong here. But because they see visible mold in their apartment, then he's like, that's probably what's happened. Anyway, so since I know things are tight, I was suggesting, well, until you can move, since he hasn't been willing to move for the last 2 years, and I've been telling him he's got a test and he won't test his place. I said, well, why don't we just have Holden stay here with me until you move? So at least he can get out of that environment. And that's when Dr. Osborne said, well, you might want to take an ERMI test for your new place just to be sure that he's going into, a good place. And if he's not, then you can use the letter to break your lease. So I'm like, okay. So that's another, and it went up in price. Of course they do. Anyway, so that's another $300, 300 something dollars. Anyway, so he did say that after he cannot be treated. I thought this whole time we were treating him for mold toxicity, but it turns out we're not. We're treating. I mean, I am. I've got NAC at the wazoo that I'm giving him for his ticks, and it seemed to be helping. But Dr. Osborne says that for the mold detox, they're actually binding agents, special ones that he uses, and special probiotics that he uses to help break down the mold toxins. I didn't know there existed such a thing, but okay. And then we support the liver so that it can help metabolize the toxins and get them out of his system. Lots of water, fresh air. And I wrote down formula 008 because apparently you can use that to fog the car, because a question came up about my ex asked if there could be mold coming from a car, because we do have older cars, 2007, and he's got 2 cars from 2006 or 7 that are old. So I mean, he can afford 2 cars, but he can't afford to do a test anyway. And we can use an ionizing humidifier and HEPA vacuum in the house and in the cars. He also suggested diffusing thieves oil to help with toxins in the air and mold. It's harder for mold to grow with thieves oil. It has some antifungal properties. So this is what we're doing, and I wanted to show you the ERMI test. Effectively, the ERMI test, just how it works. It's an AccuCloth. They give you this chain of custody. I thought was pretty cool because then I could read it and do the test without screwing it up, because I'm not wanting to screw up a really expensive test, right? So you basically get the cloth. So you wear gloves and you wipe surfaces of the house. So you want to wipe each room, the dust from each room, and then you fold it, you put it in a baggie that they provide with a label, and fill out the chain of custody form. They have a form in there, and then they have where you send it off to, and then 2 weeks you get the results. So I did this last week. Of course, it's with Christmas time and New Year's. It's probably going to be a while before I get it back, but I'm hopeful. Y'all, please, if you're praying people at all, please pray for me and for Holden, mostly for Holden. Because if my house is clean, I'm going to beg his dad to let him stay with me, because I don't know what it takes to have somebody. I mean, I'm not a danger to my son. The only reason that the court felt like I was because I'm a Jehovah's Witness and don't give blood transfusions. And of course, now what's my ex going to say? Because now parents that don't want to give vaccinated person's blood to their kids are being taken to court and stripped of their parental rights. And I know my ex won't want blood from a person that's been vaccinated with the COVID shot. So, I mean, what leg does he have to reasonably stand on? Anyway, so that's the recap of what happened and what I'm planning to do. If you have any suggestions, like for sure with this, I don't know. I mean, going to CPS and saying, hey, my son has mycotoxin overexposure and that's causing his ticks, it feels like to me they're going to go, huh? Like, I feel like I'm dealing with people who don't get this stuff, in the court system, and my lawyers, and like, people don't get it. They look at you like you've got 10 heads with this thing. I mean, people do understand the concept of metal poisoning or lead poisoning. Anyway, they've heard of it before, but they don't understand what you have to do. They don't tie it to these behavioral issues, even though they've been told on the news. It's like you have to be I don't, I guess I have to hire specialists. I have to hire Dr. Osborne or somebody to go up there and say it. Like it's not enough to have the tests. And how am I going to do that, right? With all the money I've already got to spend on these tests. Like it's impossible. People make it so freaking impossible because they're dumb. I'm sorry. I'm getting so mad. I'm not, uh, I'm so frustrated just because this boy is suffering and nobody wants to help. And it's costing me everything I have to just try and prove like I know what could help him and no one will let me. They're playing keep away with my kid and I can't. It's real frustrating to watch him tick away and he's still not in school. His dad hasn't put him in the school. He's barely doing online school. I'm just, and then I can't do anything about it until I go to court and I need money to do that. So, I mean, where do I spend money first? Let's see. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. If you guys have any thoughts that you might have Tourette's or some kind of behavioral stuff, because even Dr. Osborne was saying that he also suffered from mold illness and he had mold growing behind his wall or under his carpet. And he was saying that he was much more emotional than he usually was. And one of these molds that Holden's being affected by can behave like an estrogen in your system. And so now that he's going through puberty, that's not good for his development. And even Dr. Osborne was saying maybe to appeal to my ex's vanity that I'm sorry, I'm ragging on him. I'm just like, I'm sure the mold is affecting him mentally too, but I'm like, and that's more the point. Like, can somebody please let me help? I was trying to help my ex. Anyway, but he was saying that he was getting extra weight on his midsection because of the mold toxicity acting like an estrogen in his system and basically blocking testosterone. Anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to sign out. I'll try and calm down. I think I might have a glass of wine. I don't know. Have a wonderful day. I love you. And if you have anyone that maybe is thinking about getting a mold toxicity test, I've been finding out a lot of people are having MS. And I've been reading about MS symptoms being caused by mold toxicity and metal poison toxicity. You know, so like mercury fillings and mold in their house, that kind of stuff, or even vaccines or whatever, you know, too much fish. I think recently Christina Hack from Flip Flop, the house show, she said she got is dealing with lead and mercury poisoning from, and maybe mold toxicity from flipping all those dirty houses. And I'm like, that makes perfect sense. You probably do, honey. So if you do anything like that or any kind of work, this is an environmental medicine, or if you know someone who does and they might be experiencing some health issues, don't just be satisfied with, you know, a diagnosis. That's good. We've got a diagnosis, so we've got a collection of symptoms. Now, what are the common things that cause it? Okay, now let's reverse engineer this and take you back to health, you know, and like remove all those things that are causing it, not put a drug on top of it that's going to make you more toxic just to mask the symptoms. Like I can't, y'all. I can't. I'm trying though. Please pray for me that I don't lose my mind. All right, because I can't blame that on mold. I can only blame it on idiots being in my way of getting my son well. You have to give it to me for not killing anyone in this whole journey. I haven't put my hands on a single person, but I would like to smack some people around and tell them to quit getting in the way of my son's progress. I really do love you. Love, love, love. Ping the bell, subscribe, like, pass it on to your friends. I do love you. I love everyone. But I'd like to apply some pressure on their neck with both my hands sometimes. All right. I'll see y'all later. Have fun. And I guess enjoy 2023. It's going to be a wild one.